in a quiet corner of the solar system, far from Earth's bustling cities and crowded space stations, a small team of scientists worked tirelessly aboard Europa Station. The station was nothing special, just a collection of modular labs and living quarters orbiting Jupiter's icy moon. But it had become the epicenter of one of humanity's most important scientific missions. Among the researchers was Dr. Laura Bennett, a physicist known for her sharp mind and relentless curiosity. She wasn't the kind of person who sought fame or recognition. She simply wanted to understand the universe. It all started with routine data collection. Every day, Laura and her team analyzed readings from Europa's surface, searching for signs of life or resources that could benefit Earth. But one evening, as Laura sat in front of her computer screen, something unusual caught her eye. The dark matter streams surrounding European invisible web of particles that scientists still barely understood were behaving strangely. At first, she thought it might be an equipment malfunction. After all, instruments this far from Earth were prone to glitches. But when she cross-referenced the data with older records, she realized the anomaly wasn't random. It was repeating. Laura leaned back in her chair, her brow furrowed in thought. Dark matter made up most of the universe, yet it remained one of science's greatest mysteries. It didn't interact with light or ordinary matter in any obvious way, making it nearly impossible to study directly. And yet, here it was, showing patterns that seemed almost deliberate. She called over Alex Carter, the team's lead engineer, to take a look. Alex was younger than Laura, but just as brilliant, with a knack for solving problems no one else could crack. "What do you think?" Laura asked, pointing at the screen. "Could this be some kind of interference?" Alex studied the data for a moment before shaking his head. "No," he said slowly. "This isn't interference. Look at these fluctuations. They're too precise. Almost like they're following a set of rules." The two scientists exchanged a glance, both thinking the same thing. If the patterns weren't natural, then what or who was causing them? Over the next few days, they ran countless simulations and tests, ruling out every possible explanation they could think of. Nothing fit. Whatever was creating these patterns, it wasn't anything humans had encountered before. Then came the breakthrough. While examining the data more closely, Alex noticed something extraordinary. Hidden within the dark matter streams were faint traces of what appeared to be artificial manipulation. Someone or something had been shaping the dark matter into specific configurations. Even more shocking, those configurations resembled blueprints. They looked like designs for machines, structures, and even vessels technology so advanced it defied imagination. "This can't be real," Laura whispered, staring at the screen in disbelief. Her heart raced as she scrolled through the images. Each one was more intricate than the last, detailing systems and mechanisms that went beyond anything humanity had ever built. If these designs were accurate, then there was no reason to doubt them. They represented a leap forward in technological capability. Word of the discovery spread quickly through the station. Other researchers gathered around Laura and Alex's workstation, eager to see the evidence for themselves. Some were skeptical, dismissing the findings as wishful thinking. Others grew excited, speculating about the implications. Could this be proof of intelligent extraterrestrial life? Or was it something else entirely? As the hours passed, excitement turned to unease. The realization dawned on everyone. Whoever or whatever had created these designs was vastly superior to humanity. And if they had left their mark in the dark matter streams, did that mean they were still out there, watching? The thought sent chills down Laura's spine. For all its achievements, humanity was still a young species, barely scratching the surface of what lay beyond Earth. What would happen if this mysterious entity decided to make contact, or worse, saw humanity as a threat? Despite the uncertainty, Laura knew one thing for sure. They couldn't ignore what they'd found. This discovery had the potential to change everything, not just for science, but for humanity itself. As she stared out the station's window, at the endless expanse of space, she felt a mix of awe and dread. Somewhere out there, among the stars, answers awaited, but finding them might come at a price no one was prepared to pay. Laura and Alex knew they couldn't keep the discovery to themselves. The patterns hidden in the dark matter streams were too important, too groundbreaking, to stay confined to Europa Station. After days of analyzing the data and verifying their findings, they decided it was time to share what they had uncovered. But they also knew the implications of their discovery would ripple far beyond the scientific community. This wasn't just a breakthrough, it was a potential game-changer for humanity's place in the universe. The first step was presenting their findings to Dr. Emily Dawson, the head of Europa Station's research division. Emily was a known scientist with decades of experience, known for her ability to cut through complexity and get to the heart of any issue. When Laura and Alex walked into her office, she looked up from her desk with a raised eyebrow, clearly expecting another routine update on their progress. What she got instead was something entirely different. "We found something," Laura began, her voice steady but tinged with excitement. "Something big." Emily leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. "Go on." Alex took over, pulling up the data on Emily's screen. He explained the strange patterns in the dark matter streams, the precision of the fluctuations, and how they seemed to form intricate designs. Then he showed her the most startling part, the blueprints. Emily stared at the images, her expression unreadable. For several long moments, she said nothing, processing what she was seeing. "This is incredible," she finally said, her tone a mix of awe and skepticism. "But are you sure about this? If these designs are real and, if they're artificial, then we're talking about technology that's light years ahead of anything we've ever seen." "We're sure," Laura replied firmly. "We've double-checked everything. These aren't natural formations. Someone or something made them." Emily nodded slowly, her mind racing. She understood the magnitude of what Laura and Alex were saying. If their discovery was accurate, it could redefine humanity's understanding of the universe. But it also raised questions, big ones. Who had created these designs? Why had they left them in the dark matter streams? And what did it mean for humanity? The decision was made quickly. They needed to bring this to Earth. The discovery was too significant to remain isolated on Europa Station. Emily contacted the United Nations Space Exploration Council, the governing body responsible for overseeing humanity's ventures into space. Within hours, arrangements were made to transmit the data back to Earth, where it would be analyzed by some of the world's top scientists and engineers. When the information reached Earth, it caused an immediate stir. News of the discovery spread rapidly, first among academic circles, and then to the general public. Headlines blared across news outlets. "Scientists find alien blueprints in dark matter. Is humanity ready for contact?" The world was captivated, and speculation ran wild. Some people believed the designs were proof of benevolent extraterrestrial life, trying to help humanity evolve. Others feared they were a trap, a way to lure humanity into a dangerous confrontation with an unknown power. Governments around the globe scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were held at the highest levels, with leaders debating how to handle the situation. Should they attempt to replicate the designs, or should they leave them alone, fearing the consequences of meddling with technology they didn't fully understand? Opinions were divided, and tensions ran high. Amid the chaos, Laura and Alex were summoned to Earth to present their findings in person. They traveled back from Europa Station aboard a small spacecraft, their minds buzzing with anticipation and anxiety. Neither of them had expected their quiet research mission to explode into a global phenomenon. As they descended toward Earth, they saw the planet stretched out below them, fragile blue marble surrounded by the vast emptiness of space. It reminded them of how small humanity truly was, and how much was at stake. Once on Earth, they were whisked away to a secure facility, where a team of experts awaited them. Among them was Dr. Daniel Harper, a renowned physicist who specialized in theoretical applications of dark matter. Daniel had been skeptical when he first heard about the discovery, but after reviewing the data, he became one of its strongest advocates. He believed the designs represented an opportunity for humanity to leapfrog centuries of technological development if they could figure out how to use them. "This isn't just about science," Daniel told Laura and Alex during one of their early meetings. "This is about survival. If we can harness this technology, we might finally have a chance to stand alongside the older civilizations of the galaxy. But if we don't, we risk being left behind, or worse." The team quickly realized that replicating the designs wouldn't be easy. The blueprints were incredibly complex, filled with symbols and notations that defied conventional logic. It was as if they had been created by a mind or mindset operated on an entirely different level than human beings. Still, they pressed on, determined to unlock their secrets. As weeks turned into months, progress was slow but steady. Engineers worked around the clock, building prototypes based on fragments of the designs. Some ideas failed spectacularly, while others showed promise. One of the most exciting breakthroughs came when they managed to construct a small device that manipulated dark matter in ways previously thought impossible. Though crude compared to what the blueprints suggested, the device proved that the designs were not only real, but also functional. Despite the challenges, morale remained high. Laura and Alex found themselves at the center of a growing movement, inspiring countless others to contribute to the effort. Scientists, engineers, and even ordinary citizens pitched in, driven by a shared sense of purpose. For the first time in history, humanity was united not by conflict or fear, but by hope. But not everyone was pleased with the direction things were taking. In shadowy corners of the political landscape, powerful figures watched the developments with growing unease. Senator Harold Grant, a vocal critic of space exploration, argued that humanity wasn't ready for such advanced technology. "We're playing with forces we don't understand," he warned during a televised speech. "This isn't just risky, it's reckless." His words resonated with some, fueling protests and calls for the project to be shut down. Others accused him of stoking fear for personal gain, pointing out that his campaign was funded by corporations threatened by the prospect of free energy and limitless resources. The debate raged on, dividing nations and communities. Through it all, Laura and Alex stayed focused. They knew the risks, but they also believed in the potential rewards. Every setback only strengthened their resolve. As they worked late into the night, poring over the blueprints and brainstorming solutions, they couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. Whatever had created these designs, it had given humanity a gift, one that could change the course of history. And yet, deep down, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Somewhere out there, beyond the stars, someone or something was waiting. The world was buzzing with excitement and fear. The discovery of the dark matter blueprints had ignited a firestorm of debate, speculation, and action. Humanity was on the brink of something extraordinary, but it also felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to step forward or retreat. Laura and Alex were caught in the middle of it all. Their lives transformed from quiet researchers into reluctant symbols of hope and controversy. They had become the face of humanity's leap into the unknown. It was during one of their late-night sessions at the secure facility that the first sign of trouble appeared. A group of engineers working on a prototype reported strange interference in their equipment. At first, they dismissed it as a technical glitch, a common occurrence when dealing with such advanced technology. But as the interference grew stronger, it became clear that something unusual was happening. The monitors flickered, displaying patterns that matched the ones found in the dark matter streams. Then, without warning, the room was bathed in a soft, otherworldly glow. Laura froze, her heart pounding. "What's going on?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of energy filling the air. Alex moved closer to the source of the light, his eyes wide with awe and apprehension. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I think we're not alone anymore." Before anyone could react, the glow intensified, and a figure materialized before them. It wasn't human. Towering over the scientists, the being radiated an aura of calm authority. Its form was fluid, shifting between solid and translucent states, as if it existed halfway between dimensions. Yet despite its alien appearance, there was something familiar about it, something almost comforting. "Greetings," the being said, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "We are Kelthor, representatives of the Galactic Council." The room fell silent. No one moved. For a moment, it felt as though time itself had stopped. Laura's mind raced, trying to process what was happening. This was at the moment humanity had been waiting for. First contact. But instead of joy or relief, she felt a deep unease. Why had they come now? And why did they call themselves representatives of a council? Kelthar continued, unperturbed by the stunned silence. "Your species has uncovered knowledge not meant for you. The designs you have discovered are remnants of ancient civilizations, long gone. They are forbidden to those who have not earned their place among the stars." Laura stepped forward, her voice trembling but determined. "If these designs are so dangerous, then why leave them where we could find them?" Kelthar tilted its head, as if considering the question. "They were not left for you. They were forgotten. Your curiosity has brought you here, but your actions risk destabilizing the balance of power in the galaxy." The words hit hard. Balance of power. Laura glanced at Alex, who looked equally troubled. They had suspected that their discovery might attract attention, but they hadn't imagined it would lead to this, an ultimatum from beings far more advanced than humanity. "We didn't ask for this," Alex said, his tone firm despite the tension in the room. "But now that we've found it, we can't just ignore it. This technology could help us solve problems we've struggled with for centuries: hunger, disease, energy shortages. Are you saying we should turn our backs on that?" Kelthor's expression, or what passed for an expression, remained unreadable. "Your intentions may be noble, but your understanding is limited. You are children playing with tools you do not yet comprehend. The Council forbids further experimentation with this technology. Cease your efforts immediately, or face the consequences." The air grew heavy with unspoken threats. Laura clenched her fists, frustration boiling inside her. How could they expect humanity to simply abandon something so important? She opened her mouth to argue, but Daniel Harper, who had been quietly observing the exchange, spoke first. "With respect," Daniel began, his voice measured but unwavering. "Humanity has always advanced by pushing boundaries. We learn through trial and error. If you deny us the chance to grow, you condemn us to stagnation." Kelthor turned its gaze toward Daniel, studying him intently. "Growth comes with responsibility. Responsibility you are not yet prepared to shoulder. Consider carefully the path you choose." And with that, the being vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving behind only the faint echo of its presence. The room erupted into chaos. Scientists shouted questions, technicians scrambled to check their equipment, and security personnel rushed in, weapons drawn. Laura stood rooted to the spot, her mind reeling. What had just happened, and what did it mean for humanity? Over the next few days, news of the encounters spread like wildfire. Governments convened emergency meetings, military forces went on high alert, and public opinion splintered. Some viewed the visit as a blessing, proof that humanity was finally being recognized by the wider universe. Others saw it as a threat, fearing that the Galactic Council might enforce its demands with force. Protesters took to the streets, holding signs that read "No to Alien Dictatorship" and "Let humanity decide its own fate." Amid the turmoil, Laura and Alex found themselves thrust into the spotlight once again. Reporters hounded them for interviews, politicians sought their input, and ordinary citizens looked to them for guidance. It was overwhelming, but they knew they couldn't stay silent. Humanity needed to make a choice, and they wanted to ensure that choice was made wisely. At a press conference held in the same secure facility where the encounter had taken place, Laura addressed the world. Standing beside Alex, she spoke with quiet conviction. "We didn't ask for this challenge, but it has fallen to us nonetheless. The Galactic Council says we aren't ready, but how will we ever be ready if we stop trying? This isn't just about technology, it's about who we are as a species. Are we explorers, dreamers, builders, or are we cowards, content to live in the shadow of others?" Her words struck a chord. Across the globe, people rallied behind her message. Even skeptics began to see the logic in defiance, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. Humanity couldn't afford to wait for permission to thrive. If the Council wouldn't guide them, they would have to chart their own course. But defiance came with risks. Intelligence reports suggested that the Council was already mobilizing forces near Earth's borders. Ships larger than anything humanity had ever built hovered silently in distant orbits, their intentions unclear. Military leaders warned that conflict might be inevitable, while diplomats scrambled to open lines of communication with the Council. Laura and Alex threw themselves back into their work, determined to accelerate progress on the prototypes. Every hour counted now. With each breakthrough, they felt a mix of pride and dread. Pride because they were proving humanity's potential. Dread because they knew the Council wouldn't stand idly by forever. One evening, as they reviewed the latest test results, Alex broke the silence. "Do you ever wonder if we're doing the right thing?" he asked, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "What if they're right? What if we're not ready?" Laura sighed, setting down her tablet. "I think about that a lot," she admitted. "But ready or not, this is our chance. If we give up now, we might never get another. And I refuse to believe that humanity's story ends here." Alex nodded slowly, his resolve strengthening. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger and sacrifice. But one thing was clear. Humanity had taken its first step onto the galactic stage. Whether it stumbled or soared remained to be seen. The world was divided. Humanity stood at a crossroads, torn between fear and ambition, caution and courage. The message from the Galactic Council had been clear. Stop experimenting with the dark matter technology, or face the consequences. But what exactly those consequences might be remained unclear, leaving room for speculation, anxiety, and defiance. Leaders across the globe wrestled with the decision, while ordinary citizens watched anxiously, wondering what path their species would take. President Rachel Monroe called an emergency summit in Geneva, Switzerland, bringing together heads of state, military advisors, scientists, and ethicists to discuss humanity's response. Laura and Alex were invited as key figures in the discovery, their presence seen as vital to understanding both the potential and the risks of the dark matter designs. The meeting took place in a large conference hall filled with tension and uncertainty. Every seat was occupied, every voice eager to be heard. The debate began almost immediately. Senator Harold Grant, who had long opposed space exploration, wasted no time voicing his concerns. "This is madness," he declared, slamming his fist on the table for emphasis. "We're talking about alien technology that we barely understand. If we push forward, we risk provoking a war with beings far more advanced than us. Is that really worth it?" His words resonated with some in the room, particularly those who feared the unknown. Others, however, saw things differently. General Samantha Reed, a decorated officer, known for her strategic brilliance, argued against surrendering so easily. "If we back down now, we'll be sending a message to the galaxy that humanity is weak, afraid, and unwilling to stand up for itself. Do we really want that reputation? Besides, If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already. They're testing us, seeing how we react. The room erupted into arguments, voices rising as factions formed. Some sided with Grant, urging restraint and diplomacy. Others aligned with Reed, advocating for boldness and defiance. Amid the chaos, Daniel Harper leaned over to Laura and whispered, "This is your moment. Say something." Laura hesitated, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on her. She wasn't a politician or a soldier. She was just a scientist who had stumbled onto something extraordinary. But she also knew that her perspective mattered. Taking a deep breath, she stood up, her hands trembling slightly as she addressed the room. "I didn't ask for any of this," she began, her voice soft but steady. "None of us did. But here we are, faced with a choice that will shape the future of our species. Yes, the technology is dangerous. Yes, there are risks. But isn't that true of everything worth pursuing? When we first started exploring space, people said it was too risky. When we developed nuclear power, they said the same thing. Risk is part of progress. And right now, we have a chance to leap forward to solve problems we've struggled with for centuries." She paused, looking around the room at the faces staring back at her. Some were skeptical, others hopeful, but all were listening. "The Galactic Council says we're not ready. Maybe they're right. But how will we ever be ready if we don't try? How will we grow if we let fear dictate our actions? This isn't just about dark matter ships or advanced weapons. It's about proving to ourselves and to the rest of the galaxy that humanity deserves a place among the stars." Her words hung in the air, cutting through the noise like a knife. For a moment, there was silence. Then, slowly, applause began to ripple through the room. Not everyone agreed with her, but many found her argument compelling. Even Senator Grant, though frowning deeply, seemed to soften slightly, as if considering her point of view. The discussion continued late into the night, with each side presenting its case. By the time the summit concluded, a tentative decision had been made. Humanity would continue its work on the dark matter technology, but under strict oversight. Prototypes would be developed, but only for defensive purposes. Diplomatic efforts would intensify, with attempts to open channels of communication with the Galactic Council. It was a compromise, fragile and imperfect, but it was enough to move forward for now. Back at the research facility, the atmosphere was electric. News of the summit's outcome spread quickly, reigniting hope among the team. Engineers redoubled their efforts, working tirelessly to refine the prototypes. Laura and Alex spent countless hours poring over the blueprints, searching for ways to improve efficiency and safety. Progress was slow but steady, and with each breakthrough, confidence grew. But not everyone shared their optimism. In the shadows, powerful forces worked against them. Corporations with vested interests in maintaining the status quo lobbied hard to shut down the project, spreading misinformation and sowing doubt. Political rivals accused President Monroe of recklessness, claiming her decision put Earth in danger. Protests erupted in major cities, with crowds chanting slogans like "Peace over power" and "Stop playing God." Despite the opposition, Laura refused to give up. She believed in the mission, not because she thought humanity was perfect, but because she believed in its potential. Late one evening, as she walked through the facility's dimly lit corridors, she found Alex sitting alone in the break room, staring blankly at a cup of coffee. "You okay?" she asked, pulling up a chair beside him. He glanced at her, forcing a smile. "Just thinking about everything. What if we're wrong? What if this tears us apart, instead of bringing us together?" Laura sighed, leaning back in her chair. "I think about that too, a lot, actually. But I also think about what happens if we do nothing. If we let fear stop us, we'll never know what we're capable of. We'll always wonder, what if?" Alex nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. "You're right. It's just scary, you know. knowing that so much depends on us. Yeah, Laura replied softly. But maybe that's the point. Maybe we're supposed to feel scared. It means we care. And if we care enough, maybe we can get through this. Their conversation ended there, but it left both of them with a renewed sense of purpose. They returned to their work with fresh determination, knowing that the road ahead would be difficult, but also knowing that giving up wasn't an option. Meanwhile, tensions with the Galactic Council continued to escalate. Reports came in of increased activity near Earth's borders, with massive alien ships appearing in greater numbers. Military analysts warned that an attack could come at any moment, though no hostile actions had been taken yet. The Council's intentions remained a mystery, adding to the growing sense of unease. In response, Earth's governments accelerated their preparations. Defense systems were upgraded, evacuation plans drawn up, and public announcements made to reassure citizens. At the same time, diplomatic teams worked tirelessly to establish contact with the Council, hoping to negotiate a peaceful resolution. Laura and Alex were kept informed of these developments, their roles expanding beyond science to include strategy and policy. One day, as they reviewed the latest updates, Alex turned to Laura with a wry grin. You know, when we started this whole thing, I thought we'd be spending our days staring at computer screens and writing papers. Never imagined we'd end up helping plan for intergalactic war. Laura chuckled, shaking her head. Me neither. But hey, life's full of surprises. As they shared a laugh, a sudden alarm blared through the facility. Red lights flashed, and automated voices announced an incoming transmission. Rushing to the main control room, they found the screens displaying a familiar figure. Kelthur, we warned you, the being said, its tone colder than before. Yet you persist. You leave us no choice. Before anyone could respond, the transmission cut off, leaving the room in stunned silence. Whatever happened next, humanity would face it together as explorers, dreamers, and builders. The warning from Kelthor hung in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and ominous. Everyone in the control room froze, unsure of what to do next. Laura felt a chill run down her spine as she replayed the being's words in her mind. We warned. You leave us no choice. It wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration. The Galactic Council had made its position clear, and now humanity had to brace for whatever came next. Despite the tension, there was no time for panic. President Rachel Monroe immediately convened another emergency meeting, this time focused on defense and strategy. Military leaders, scientists, and engineers gathered in a secure bunker beneath Geneva, where plans were laid out for humanity's response. General Samantha Reed took charge of coordinating Earth's forces, ensuring that every available resource was mobilized. Meanwhile, Laura and Alex were tasked with finalizing the construction of the Vanguard, the first fully operational DART matter warship. Building the Vanguard had been a monumental challenge from the start. The designs were complex, requiring materials and techniques far beyond anything humanity had used before, but necessity drove innovation. Engineers worked around the clock, improvising solutions and pushing the limits of technology. The ship's hull was forged from an experimental alloy that could withstand extreme conditions, while its engines harnessed the mysterious properties of dark matter to achieve speeds previously thought impossible. Weapons systems were designed based on fragments of the alien blueprints. Though their full capabilities remained untested, Commander Ryan Hayes, a seasoned naval officer chosen to lead the mission, oversaw the final stages of construction. Ryan was known for his calm demeanor under pressure and his ability to think strategically in chaotic situations. He had spent years commanding Earth's fleet of conventional spacecraft, but had never imagined he'd one day pilot humanity's first interstellar warship. As he walked through the shipyard, inspecting the sleek, black vessel that loomed before him, he couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and unease. Pride because the Vanguard represented everything humanity had Achieved. Unease, because it might soon be put to the ultimate test. Laura and Alex visited the shipyard frequently, working closely with Ryan and his team to ensure the ship's systems were functioning properly. They knew the stakes. The Vanguard wasn't just a machine. It was humanity's last line of defense. If it failed, so would humanity. "Are we ready?" Laura asked Ryan one evening as they stood on the observation deck overlooking the ship. Ryan crossed his arms, his gaze fixed on the massive vessel below. "As ready as we'll ever be," he replied. "But let's hope we don't have to find out." His words echoed Laura's own thoughts. No one wanted a fight not against beings as powerful as the Galactic Council. Yet the Council's actions left little room for negotiation. Their ships continued to linger near Earth's borders, their presence growing more menacing by the day. Intelligence reports suggested they were preparing for something big, though the exact nature of their plans remained unknown. Amid the preparations, sabotage attempts began to surface. Shadowy figures within Earth's own ranks, individuals loyal to Senator Harold Grant or sympathetic to the Council's demands, tried to disrupt the project. Equipment went missing, data was corrupted, and key personnel were targeted. Security teams worked tirelessly to track down the culprits, but the attacks kept coming, forcing the researchers and engineers to operate under constant threat. One night, an explosion rocked the shipyard, damaging part of the Vanguard's outer hull. Laura and Alex rushed to the scene, hearts pounding as they surveyed the destruction. Flames licked at the scaffolding, and smoke filled the air. Emergency crews scrambled to contain the fire, while Ryan barked orders into his communicator, trying to assess the damage. "This wasn't an accident," Alex muttered, his voice tight with anger. "Someone wants to stop us." Laura clenched, her fists, frustration boiling inside her. "They're not going to succeed," she said firmly. "Not after everything we've done." The attack delayed progress, but it didn't stop it. If anything, it strengthened the resolve of everyone involved. Workers labored through the night to repair the damage, refusing to let fear dictate their actions. Laura and Alex joined them, lending their expertise wherever it was needed. By morning, the ship was back on track, its sleek surface gleaming under the artificial lights of the shipyard. As the days passed, public support for the project grew stronger. Images of the Vanguard were released to the media, sparking awe and admiration across the globe. People saw the ship as a symbol of hope, a testament to humanity's ingenuity and determination. Protesters who had once called for peace now rallied behind the idea of standing firm against the Council's threats. Even skeptics began to see the logic in defiance, realizing that surrendering would only weaken humanity's position in the galaxy. But not everyone was convinced. Senator Grant launched a fierce campaign to discredit the project, accusing Laura and her team of recklessness. "This isn't about exploration or progress," he argued during a televised interview. "It's about ego. They want to play gods, and it's going to get us all killed." His words struck a nerve, dividing the public further. Some agreed with him, fearing the consequences of provoking the Council. Others dismissed his claims as fearmongering, pointing out that humanity had no choice but to defend itself. The debate raged on, reflecting the deep divisions within society. Through it all, Laura remained focused. She knew that arguing with critics wouldn't change their minds, but proving them wrong might. Every breakthrough brought her closer to that goal. When the final piece of the Vanguard was installed, a powerful energy core, capable of generating gravitational pulses, she allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. They had done it, against all odds. Humanity had built a ship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. On the day of the Vanguard's launch, thousands gathered outside the shipyard to watch. News outlets broadcast the event live, capturing every detail. As the countdown began, Laura stood alongside Ryan and Alex, her heart racing with anticipation. This was at the moment of truth. "Ready?" Ryan asked, glancing at her. Laura nodded, her voice steady, despite the knot of nerves in her stomach. "Let's show them what we're made of." With a deafening roar, the Vanguard lifted off the ground, its engines glowing with an otherworldly light. The crowd erupted into cheers as the ship ascended into the sky, disappearing into the stars. For the first time in history, humanity had sent a message to the galaxy. It would not back down as the ship vanished from sight. Laura turned to Alex, a mixture of relief and dread washing over her. "Now we wait," she said softly. Alex placed a hand on her shoulder, offering a small smile. "Whatever happens next, we did our best. That's all anyone can ask for." And so, humanity waited for the Council's next move, for the outcome of their gamble, for the future they had dared to claim.